Dylan, man, it's been a crazy 24 hours since this news came out. I don't think it was supposed to come out yet. I think you helped break it to the world.
Unfortunately.
Whoops.
Yeah.
I mean, someone else posted about it first and
Exactly.
the freak out started. But
Yeah.
give us a summary. What are we talking about here?
Well, I think it all starts a few years ago where Pixieset acquired Flothemes, and we kind of knew that was coming, that move a little bit. But I think back at that time, there had been a lot of like behind closed doors meetings and different possibilities with how Flothemes would handle this, and the future of Flothemes was very unclear.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people now are like saying like, I called it. I knew that this is how this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, this is probably like most likely like Pixieset acquired Flothemes for their Flex editor, primarily, and secondarily to get that large user base and try to funnel as many of those people onto the Pixieset web platform as possible and get them under that Pixieset like all-encompassing subscription.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like the Flex editor and that particular part of the technology IP was a huge part of why they decided it was a good thing to make this deal. But there's also the brand that Flothemes had built for the specific aesthetic for photography websites that they were known for and that they are known for. Yeah. Still, the reason I think a lot of people are using them is because of the designs that they created. And if you look at some of the more recent Pixieset designs, you can see clearly they've brought over part of that team. They have some of the same sort of design aesthetic. It's not exactly the same. They're working with different constraints, and it will continue to evolve over time, I'm sure. But, they didn't want to just like copy Flothemes and say, we're going to make the sites that look just like Flothemes. I think they wanted to acquire the whole package of like, hey, we love what Flothemes is doing with websites, and we want our offering to look like that. Let's just buy them, and we'll make our offering look like that. I think there was I know that Ross was really fighting hard to keep the WordPress operation going. They had a huge team that was working on things. And I think, from our conversations with Ross and the Flothemes team years ago, before the acquisition, really the Flex editor was just starting to get to the point where we were like, okay, y'all are doing something right now. And we could get behind this from an SEO perspective. The fact that they were building a drag and drop Flex editor that could be inserted as a block into WordPress. I'm sure we'll talk about blocks more later.
Yeah.
That was great. Like, I think they were I feel like Flothemes was just hitting their stride with modern WordPress right before the acquisition. And so that's why they were fighting to keep it open. They're like, can we keep this alive? Can this be a separate offering from Pixieset where, people still want to use WordPress and want to use modern WordPress, but there's also the option of Pixieset, which can have a similar sort of builder and be a proprietary platform. But I don't know. What do you? Okay, here's another question for you. What do you think is going to happen next based on the feedback that has happened from this announcement? Do you think that anything will change, or do you think they'll just kind of move forward exactly as they've described in the announcement?
I think that they're hoping that people just kind of forget that this happened, forget that they're mad at Pixieset, and just they move on. Like, I think Pixieset's a big enough company, and they're just going to treat it like any other big company when they deal with bad news. And they're just like, maybe a public statement like, hey, we should have handled this a little bit differently. Sorry about that.
Right.
And then like, anyways, sign up for Pixieset.
Right.
They're not going to bring back the Flothemes team that is no longer part of, like, they're no longer active. Like, right. They're not going to bring back support. They're not going to all of a sudden have a Pixieset WordPress option. Like,
right. I think they were hoping that maybe they could continue to build it along with the way that they're building Flex Editor for Pixieset. But realistically, to stay up to date with modern WordPress, even right now with the way that things are changing with block themes, there was going to need to be some refactoring. You're going to need to like reimagine things constantly to have a WordPress product that stays at the top of the market. And I think they're realizing that's a whole separate company. Right? Like, we're not going to maintain a company that has the mission to create beautiful modern WordPress websites for photographers, because that's a different mission than the Pixieset mission. And I think that now it just doesn't make sense to do both. And I think it would take a lot of convincing to keep them to have both available, and I just think it did make sense for their business. I wish that they would have figured out how to make that happen, and I think they tried. I think they hired some people that were intended to do that. I don't want to like put any blame or anything on any particular people. I'm just saying I think that there were some intentions to keep things going, but I just don't think that it worked out exactly in that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a big question that needs to be answered. And by the way, if you're watching this live, feel free to ask questions in the comments. We would be happy to address some of the specific concerns. We've already got some things that we can look at as far as quick questions that have been posted, but give them again to us in the comments if you're watching live so that we can answer specifically what you're concerned about. But I would like to start off with, if you are currently a Flothemes user, and let's just assume for now that you are a Pronto all-in-one user, because if you're a legacy Flothemes user, actually, you know what? Let's just start with that real quick, just to get that out of the way. If you're a legacy Flothemes user, you've got one of the older themes before Pronto, you probably should have already been looking for a new solution. But even then, real quick, what are your thoughts on the viability of one of those themes going into the future? How long do you have before you're like really worried, or are you already really worried about that?
Yeah, last time I checked on this, I was really worried. So I don't think they've. I think your biggest problem there is that they were outdated when they released them to some extent. They were kind of behind the ball with even like the versions of PHP that they supported with those themes.
Yeah.
And so many hosts like don't allow you to run those because they don't allow that old of a PHP to be ran on their servers. Like, right. Yeah. So you need to get off the old Flothemes as soon as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So what if you're on Pronto? I mean, I've talked to, actually just yesterday in our membership office hour, someone was showing me their staging site that they had built on Pronto, and they're getting ready to go live. I know people have just purchased in the last few days. Is there a viable path forward to continue to use Pronto, and how long do you think people have on that?
So I think the big question that Flothemes themselves hasn't really answered yet is that you have to have the active subscription to edit any content that's inside your Flex blocks or Flex Builder. And I'm assuming, like, it would be so wild if they didn't do this, but I'm assuming they're going to remove that need for the active subscription or mark all of their existing subscriptions as active going forward, so people can still use that Flex Builder and you're not just like your site's uneditable in 1 year, because that would just be wild to me.
Okay.
Outside of that, you're going to start to deal with the same issues with like WordPress updates, and if there are any vulnerabilities or any issues with the plugin that exist, it's not going to see continued development. So like that's going to be pretty risky at some point. And then obviously their support is just like, it's already been on a downward slope in the last few months. And then I think today they're like, we're no longer answering any questions in the Facebook group. Do it all through our email. And then like, it's just going to continue to be like, I doubt they're going to be able to keep up with tech support. I think it's going to be like a downward slope. So
yeah, it's interesting though. What kinds of things would cause technical issues with Flothemes site that might require support or updates? Do people need to be worried that that's going to happen? Is there like, I have seen some people posting WordPress could make an update and your site could just go down anytime. I don't know if that's like exactly how I would say it. What do you think about that? Is that accurate?
It's hard.
Hang on, I'm having an audio issue.
No
keep going. I think I just need to fix my headphones.
Okay. So from my perspective, it's a tough question to answer, because while there have been updates to Flow or issues with Flothemes in the past where like they needed to update their plugin or theme to unbreak people's sites, those have been somewhat rare. So yeah, like you're probably okay. It's just not something that I'd want to risk on my own site.
Okay, sorry I missed most of that, but it sounds like I got the last little bit of it there, that you wouldn't want to risk it.
But you're right. Yeah.
Did you give a time frame for like what you think, if you had a Flotheme site right now on Pronto, how soon would you be wanting to get off of that?
So if it was me, I'd probably really utilize this off season to my advantage. I don't think it's like, oh, I need to sign up for a staging site, like, or pop up a staging site today and then like start building tomorrow. Like, I think that that's a bit alarmist. I think if you're happy with your Flotheme site as it exists now, you're more than likely going to be okay for the next 6 to 8 months. Obviously, they're saying that they have a year of support, but I wouldn't be banking on that being super effective.
Yeah.
But I mean, you might have 8 to 12 months of time to even start working on your new site. Yeah, it's not a huge like 5-alarm fire that you need to go put out right now.
Yeah, I think WordPress, the next big release, I think 6.4 is going to be, or that's not right. Is that right? The next big release will be in November. Or at least that's the scheduled date. And I think it's still unlikely. The thing is, the current way that Flothemes is set up is sort of already a legacy solution for WordPress. I mean, it's a proprietary, they've built their own theme builder, and the way that it all works together is really somewhat independent of WordPress and the WordPress updates. I wouldn't say that's true forever. Again, you might run into PHP problems at some point, et cetera, et cetera. But I think for the foreseeable future, in my mind, it's not something where things are just going to start breaking. I don't think that's likely to be the case very soon. But I just think that if you are concerned about, wanting your site to be up and have support and updates and be able to maintain updates with WordPress, like that could be another solution. Is if you don't update WordPress, even if you don't update your other themes, other plugins, you probably won't have anything that would break for quite a long time. I'm not saying that I highly recommend not updating things for a very long time, but just saying I have had sites before where I have left things unupdated. Like back when I was using Divi, for example, when Divi would come out with a new version, I would be like, you know what? I'm just not going to that version. And I would stay on the old version. Yeah. And I had one site that stayed on a version behind on Divi for maybe 2 years. And it was fine. The site ran exactly like it had run before. And everything was just really out of date until it got to the point where PHP wasn't supported and that kind of stuff. So I think you've got a little bit of time there. Let's jump into some of the questions and comments that are happening here in the on the live video. Let's talk. I don't know which direction we want to go first here. Yeah, what do you think?
Totally. Oh gosh, we have a bunch of questions. Yeah. Let's just go in order so we can just like make sure we don't miss anything.
Okay.
Austin is asking, what's the most similar or best option, I guess, like similar to FlexBlocks?
Yeah. There really is nothing. I mean,
that's the hard part. It's a giant hole left, like
hole that should never be filled, in my opinion.
Exactly. I think I've said this phrase like a million times in the last 24 hours, but I do not like third-party drag and drop page builders.
Period.
At all. I know that that's something that people love. I think that people mistake the ease as having no drawbacks. Like they just get their cake, and there's no harm to using this tool.
People have been misled and misinformed in this regard for years, and part of it is the fault of Flothemes. Part of it is the fault of Showit. Part of it is the fault of Squarespace. That you can have any kind of drag and Wix, all of these things, drag and drop any way you want, design exactly what you love, and still get great performance and usability and accessibility and rankings, and all of these things. And I just do not believe that is true. Period.
Well, if there were no drawbacks, people wouldn't be freaking out today.
Right.
Because they wouldn't have their content locked on a platform that's going away in a year. Like right now, if you have content built in Flex blocks or Flex, like in the Flex sections of their themes, you have to rebuild that content for it to be visible on any other platform, or even if you're staying on WordPress and using a different theme or not using Flex blocks. That doesn't happen if you stay on a platform that has the ability to actually export like properly to another platform, which drag and drop that's like the one, in my opinion, fatal flaw is like the way that people achieve drag and drop means that it does not easily export to any other platform at all.
there's a lot of different proprietary solutions for how to render the actual HTML, JavaScript, CSS on a drag and drop builder, and none of them are even attempting to be interoperable. You're not going to see an export from Squarespace that you can import into Showit, for example. The new Fluid Engine editor on Squarespace is this attempt to create another drag and drop platform, but it's not intended to be moved. It's intended to just be proprietary solution that can, we have a way that we're going to handle rendering it. You just have to trust us. It's some magic we're doing behind the scenes or whatever. And that's the same thing with Showit. It's the future of the internet is blocks. Okay. That's one thing that people need to understand, that in my opinion, websites should be made of blocks. And we won't get too much into that right now, but the idea is that if you can start to see that if you're going to be on WordPress, especially, that you need to be thinking about blocks, block themes, the block editor, everything in blocks, that's the way, right? And if you want to do some design things, like you want to have some design flexibility, there are certainly ways to do that. And there are ways that you can do that with current builders. You can, something like Cadence that we've been recommending heavily has a lot of flexibility. It's not going to give you ultimate drag and drop flexibility like a flex block. It's not intended to. It's not doing that on purpose, because the way that the code is output is just, it's a mess when you have drag and drop. And so no, you're not going to find something that looks like that. You're not going to find something that has the kind of flexibility that you got with the Flex block and still get to have all of the benefits that come with WordPress. If people are telling you that, it's probably a designer who's trying to sell you something that was easy for them to create. A lot of people are doing that. There's a lot I think Lindsay asked about this here in the comments, and she was asking about it yesterday. And I assumed that Showit's probably good for SEO because all the designers are using it. No. Showit is a design tool. Designers love it because it makes designing easy. It's not for SEO. It's not, and never was meant to be. I know this. I've talked to the owners of Showit and people who work there. They don't care. I shouldn't say that. That's not 100% true, but that wasn't their intention to create a platform for people who care about search engines. Their whole goal was to create a platform for people who cared about design. Yes, designers are going to jump on top of that. It makes their jobs easy. It makes them more creative. They have more flexibility. But they're not going to be concerned about SEO. And you'll find that they'll say, but it can still be great for SEO because I have some clients who are ranking well with Showit, or my site's on Showit and it ranks great. See, Showit, it's great for SEO. That's not how it works. It's just not. There's so much more that we can get into on that. That's probably another call, another live, maybe a podcast episode. But anyway, what's the most similar thing? Actually, okay, let me take a little bit of a step back here, because even as much as I would not necessarily recommend going in this direction, if I were to tell you what is is it even a WordPress solution? If you're looking for something very similar and you just want to stay on WordPress because you want to host your site and you don't really care about blocks and going in the direction of WordPress, and you're okay with using proprietary software that may not be the cleanest and might have some bugs and things, but does have active support who's fixing it, I would say Elementor is the closest. Maybe Divi, but I would not even, I personally just hate Divi. That's just maybe that's a personal thing, but I've always had problems with it. Elementor, the client sites that I've worked on, I've had so many issues. I mean, if you're using Elementor and you're not having any issues, you are lucky. I really think that the average Elementor user is going to have bugs and glitches and things where the whole site just stops working, or the screen is like 3/4 of the way filled, but then the rest is, there's all kinds of weird things that can happen with Elementor. But as much as it's not drag and drop exactly, they do have some elements that you can kind of drag around with Elementor. It's the closest thing, I would say. If you're going to look at Elementor, just know that it is third-party proprietary software that, in my opinion, Elementor is going in the direction of being a platform like Squarespace, not in the direction of being a WordPress theme /plugin/page builder, because WordPress page builders aren't really a thing anymore, in my opinion. Like if you're thinking about what is WordPress, whenever they introduced the block editor into core, whenever they really made the Gutenberg project the WordPress editor, they said, this is the new way to edit WordPress sites. Anything else is another company's opinion about how you should edit WordPress sites. They can still use WordPress, right? It's open source. That's one of the rights of WordPress, is that you can take the software, modify it, use it however you want. And that's what Elementor has done. And they've created a company and a brand. They even have their own hosting now. If you want to get into that ecosystem, think of it as a competitor to Showit or Squarespace, or any Pixieset, like whatever. But it is probably the closest thing. Just don't let people tell you that Elementor is WordPress. I mean, it kind of is, but it's kind of not. And that's coming from someone who's like a WordPress purist, so a little bit biased there. What other questions do we have coming in that we need to get to?
Yeah, so
I think Austin was also asking about SEO and like maintaining SEO when switching.
Yeah, so I think like the quick answer there is that if you hire somebody or do it yourself, just make sure that you look at a few things first. Look at your search console to see which pages on your site are actually driving significant traffic. If you have a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, you can look and see which pages on your site have backlinks. Those are going to be the pages that you really want to make sure that the content is as close to staying the same as possible. Maybe you rebuild it one for one and just keep everything the same. For your whole site, you should probably try to keep your permalinks the same, so your URLs don't change. You should try to make sure that your titles don't change, so keep the same SEO plugin that you have already on Flothemes with your new site. If your titles, your headings, your meta descriptions, your actual content stays the same, and your URLs stay the same, you're not likely to see huge changes. Internal links might be another thing. Most of the theme level decisions that are being made are going to be more aesthetic. Sometimes you do have slight changes in, like, did the blog posts have a previous and next, or do they show 3 related posts at the bottom that will impact your internal linking? But
that's overall, like getting really into the weeds, and sometimes it does make a difference. Like, it's just on the average photography site, it's not likely to be a significant impact for like those really technical things that might change with a theme switch. But just know that there are reasons that a theme switch may have some impact on your technical SEO and the way that Google crawls the site, and that can make a difference. But I think in general, keeping it very similar, I think it's a little bit tricky. I don't want to get too much into this conversation right this second, but whenever people say like, keep my SEO, that's not even a thing. Like, I mean, kind of, but like, what do you mean by that? Do you want to keep your content? Do you want to keep which optimizations are you talking about when you say SEO? You can keep a lot of the optimizations, like Dylan's saying. There was something you said, headings. Use a Chrome extension like Headings Map or Detailed SEO to look at the structure of the headings on the page, because this is something I was talking to someone. Again, there was someone who was they're building a staging site with Pronto, and they previously had I can't remember, some other WordPress thing, and it's like if they were going to go to a separate thing like Cadence, the headings, like which one is an H1 and which is H2 and all of this stuff, they were completely different. Builders might handle headings differently. And while that's not necessarily like the end of like the only thing that impacts SEO, if the content, when Google crawls it, if the content doesn't look the same because like they can't understand the structure, because they can't see that this section is related to this section because of the heading structure, that may impact their ability to understand exactly which content's contained on that page or how it relates. Anyway, there's contextual clues like that Google uses to understand content, and they may change if you're changing the builder that you're using. So really just have to pay attention to maintaining a similar structure, both in URLs and on-page content. And I think that outside of that, the other concerns are technical, and it's like most modern options should be pretty fine. But then again, like some people would say, go use Divi. I saw Divi recommended multiple times in the thread. People are like, which builder should I use? you might not be fine on Divi. You might, if you do it just exactly right. Or Elementor, if you do it just exactly right, you might be fine. But whenever someone asks me, like, is a platform, is a theme good for SEO? What I'm thinking is, does it give you default options that are good for SEO? Does it push you into doing the right things because that's the default way to do it? If so, that's what I consider to be good for SEO. Most platforms are not doing that at all. They're just like letting you do whatever you want, or even pushing you in a direction that is bad for SEO. And that's like, some people are still asking about Showit. That's kind of why I say Showit's not good for SEO. Well, there's some technical things, a lot of technical things that I don't like about Showit, but the way that most Showit templates and designs that are on their marketplace are created, I think push people to make poor SEO decisions. That might actually be a good time for us to kind of transition into talking about, I want to talk about Cadence, and I want to talk about Caldera and Sitesy, and I want to talk about Melissa's, StyleCloud. And I also want to talk about block themes and some other options outside of Cadence, just to give people some context, some things to research. If you're going to go do the research yourself, I want to give you some of the questions you should be asking and things you should be looking for. So let's start digging into that. Let me move over and see.
I'm going to take a quick question from Jenny. She said, so does Pixieset plan to stop locking out SEO vendors from their platform? She manages several clients on Pixieset, and she gets logged out for like 6 to 8 hours, and they block their IP. I mean, if it was me and I was offering SEO services, I don't think I would be taking on clients on Pixieset with what I've seen from the platform.
Right. What are you really doing for them?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not setting yourself up for success if they're going to expect like results from that platform. It's completely like it's literally the worst platform I could think of for a photographer that exists currently. Yeah, so I
can think some worse ones, I think.
Maybe, but maybe. Yeah, but that's where I'd start. It's like, you can't even have a homepage page title that's unique for that has their target like market or specialty in it. Like, I don't know. Like, if you can't do that, you're a few steps back from everybody else. There's so many technical issues with that platform that I just wouldn't recommend it. I don't think I could push people there, or even like, if people are on Pixieset, I just really try to talk to them about the many options that are better than that they should be looking at.
Yep. Laura, no, it's not going to be maintained in the future. I think there might be, was it a year that they're going to offer some updates or something?
Yeah.
Or is it no updates?
I don't think they're updating anything. It's just support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for current sites, that's what we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier. You probably need to be thinking about what's your plan for the future sooner than later, but not immediate. Like, you don't need to go change today. If this is your busy season and you need to wait until December or January or something like that, that's fine. You're going to be okay. I say that, I should be careful. I can't imagine a scenario when you need to change before the next 6 months because your site's going to crash and burn. Like, it's not necessarily like that.
Hopefully you're on good hosting. Like, Cloudways has a new feature where they test any plugin or theme updates before you do them, or use a staging site to test any of those updates yourself, just to make sure nothing breaks. That'd be my plan of attack for the next year.
Yeah.
I just want to answer a few really quick questions.
Go for it.
Maria was asking about Lyra theme. It's not legacy, but it's also not Pronto all-in-one. It looks like it came out in like 2019. I don't know when it was last updated. I know they had a few themes that they made updates to support later versions of PHP, but they were like pretty much calling off any further development on those a few years ago.
Okay.
I'd be somewhat scared to be on one long term, so I would just be looking to get off the platform at that point.
Yep. What other questions? I can't see all the questions. It won't let me scroll back in.
I had to go into the post. Susan Sexton saying, stop being locked into template builders. Cadence is the best, and she's been using them for 3 years. Yeah, we've had good results with them for years as well. Lindsay is asking about Cadence designers. We mentioned a few. Melissa Love just dropped her StyleCloud. It's really worth looking at if you like the Flothemes aesthetic. Restored 316 is another. And then my wife's company Sightsee is one. So yeah, look at those. But pretty much any web designer, like if you just find a designer, any design that they come up with can likely be built with Cadence. It's a very malleable and easy to work with platform.
There are certain things, though, I think that are current design trends for photographers that are not going to lend themselves to being block-based. They're intentionally breaking block barriers. And if you're trying to design something like that, I'll just say this again. I don't know if I said this yet, but let's say this now.
Nice.
Showit is, if you are trying to get the aesthetic of Flothemes and the drag and drop capability of Flothemes, and you're just not that concerned about future-proofing your site, if you're not that concerned about like really, if you don't believe in the vision of WordPress, and if you're not someone who's like I am, I think that WordPress is an important part of the internet. Like I think that we need WordPress. If you're not one of those people who's like, oh yeah, I believe in WordPress's mission, then maybe Showit is the right kind of platform for you. I would say that there are things you can do with Showit that can still work for SEO. So maybe if you're just looking for like design aesthetic, if you're just looking for a pretty portfolio, if you're just trying to build a brochure for your site, basically, that is, matching your brand and the kind of feel that you want to give people, maybe maybe that kind of drag and drop platform is fine for you. But if you are looking for something that is going to be more future proof, that is going to be, open source, something you can own, something that, and by the way, people will tell you that Showit is WordPress, or it's based in WordPress, or the blog is still WordPress. None of those things are exactly true. There's like some tiny element of truth to some of that. It is built using WordPress, but it's not, again, WordPress can be modified and kind of done. You can do whatever you want with it. And their current build on WordPress is, in my opinion, significantly behind the curve of where WordPress as a technology stack is right now.
They're kind of just using WordPress as like a content management system and a data source, pretty much.
Not necessarily the best thing to do with WordPress, So, but anyway, it's possibility. Okay, we got a couple more comments coming in. Why don't you jump on those?
Yeah, totally. Laura's asking if FlowFlex will be maintained, at least for current sites.
I think we already answered that.
Yeah. Okay.
I answered her specifically.
Oh, good. Yeah. Let's see. People were asking about designers. I got them the links. Paul just said he's spent 4 months beginning of this year building a Pronto all-in-one site. Wake up to this news. Does it mean that the site will no longer be operational after next year? I think, Flothemes needs to clarify a little bit more on if you will be able to edit your own content in the Flex Builder after this year. Mm-hmm. I believe they're going to open that up to people with existing subscriptions, but I wouldn't want to be on the platform much longer than the current year that their timeframe that they're giving.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. Fabian, let's see. What are the advice on replacing your current flow theme with Cadence? Do we just recreate the same pages that they have in Cadence and submit them to Search Console? Until they rank, keep the current flow theme online until Google picks up the current or the new website, Cadence website. So Fabian, I think I would want to keep it on the same domain, and I would want the pages to keep the same URL. So I would want to be building replacements, and you can do this on a page-by-page basis. So maybe you build the Cadence version on an unindexed page until it's ready, and then you change its URL to your current live URL for that page you're replicating, and then you can submit that to Search Console, and Google will see the new content. If you keep the content the same, the headings are the same, titles the same, etc., it should rank at least as good as the previous Flothemes content. Google tends to understand the WordPress block editor content that Cadence uses better than they understand Flex's page builder content, and so you might see a ranking increase. But that's how I would go about it.
Have you caught up, or are there some other questions? I'm pulling some stuff up we can demo, but if you can answer a couple more questions, I'll have a couple more seconds to do that.
I think so. That's pretty much it for questions, but feel free to throw some questions in right now. Melissa just dropped her link. That's the moving from Flothemes to Cadence, which it looks like it's a great resource. I haven't been able to look at that all the way yet. Step-by-step guide to move Show It with blogs to WordPress. The renewal is up, and definitely interested in moving over. We can kind of make that basically your WordPress content. Show It. What was the deal, Corey? Where they were only allowing migrations if you have the premium blog package. Is that correct?
Those are migrations in. You can still export your content.
Okay, so you can always export. Good. So yeah, you'll export your existing blog posts from Show It, and you'll be able to import those into your new WordPress install on your new site. That content seems to come over pretty well. From what I've seen, it's just like typical WordPress content. You'll need to manually rebuild any of your existing Show It pages completely from scratch, or whatever your new theme or blocks has. And so all of that will have to be rebuilt. But it's not terribly difficult. I did it on my own site. My current website was a Flotheme site, and I just rebuilt it using Cadence. Changed the design a little bit, but more or less just rebuilt the blocks as they looked in Flex.
And you did that in like a weekend or something, didn't you?
Yeah, didn't take long. Obviously, I have some like experience with Cadence, but it wasn't like I was doing custom CSS or doing anything weird. It was literally like touching sliders until it looked right. Not
touching sliders. I like that. That should be like we need a t-shirt. Go touch sliders. Like
right. Let's see. Laura is talking about how they don't have an answer to how long Flex will be functional. Yeah, it's really vague how they just say you can continue using and updating your site as usual for the next year.
You're not even going to be able to update your site after that, maybe?
Not great.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dylan, do you want to talk a little bit about Caldera and like why it's how you came up with the like idea to do it, or like why, like what's the structure, like why is it good for SEO? That's kind of what I want to get at. Is like, I know that everyone wants sites that look like Flotheme sites,
right?
And I think Caldera looks great, but it's not like a Flotheme site.
No,
it's intentionally not like a Flotheme site. So that's kind of what I'm trying to tease out is like, why is it intentionally not like a Show It site or a Flotheme site? What are the elements that are important to SEO that were intentionally put into building that?
Yeah, totally. So when we sat down to make Caldera, I pretty much just looked at what I would want a site to have in order to rank well. What would be my strategy to rank a site? Caldera specifically is designed around like a multi-specialty photographer that might be a wedding photographer that also does families and seniors and engagements and elopements. And so I looked at that. I built the sections of the homepage that I thought would be useful for those users and would rank well and drive traffic and convert. And then went from there and kind of just went through my playbook of like any trick I could think of that could be done at the theme template level to make sure that the content is indexed quickly and ranks well, and everything from the heading layout of the different pages, the blog content itself, to the like having an HTML sitemap in the footer, which I think is something that I've always loved and I don't really see other people doing often, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So we built all of that into Caldera, and the aesthetics are just very bland, I guess. Like it works for a lot of people. But I think our next plans are to kind of make new style kits for that same basic theme, because there isn't much of a change about the theme. Like it's, if you want to rank, that's how I would set it up. But I do acknowledge that people have different aesthetic needs and wants and wishes. So we're going to do a few extra style kits of different ideas of how to design that theme, I guess.
Yeah. And we've been saying stuff like you can do anything with Cadence, and it's like Sort of. You can. Some of it might require some custom CSS, maybe even some custom JavaScript, depending on exactly what you want to do. Or you might want to upgrade to Pro. Cadence Pro, that's actually something we should talk about. I've seen that question come up quite a few times. When do you need Cadence Pro and when is free just fine? Should you start with one or the other? By the way, I agree with these comments that are coming in right now. As Flothemes sold out. So that's the only thing that I would really say is on them. But it's Pixieset that is making this decision. And so if anything, it's the Flothemes team wanted to keep this going. They really did.
Yeah.
And
I had a call with somebody that was an ex-Flotheme person today, and they were like, they were trying to buy the Flotheme side to keep it going. Like they were actively just saying like, this is a great company. This is a great product. People love it. We just want to keep it going. And Pixieset was just like, no.
Yeah. Pixieset, their whole goal in the beginning, I think, was to bring over as much of the customer base as possible and tell the rest to go find something else. I mean, It's a valid business decision. I just feel like, such a big corporate-y kind of like FU. And I don't love that at all. I don't know. Yeah. I'm interested to see how the reputation changes for them.
I mean, it's also like, if, I don't know, like Ford bought Ferrari and then they're trying to tell all their Ferrari owners to like, no, just buy this Ford Taurus. You're going to like it. Like Pixieset is the Ford Taurus and Flothemes was the Ferrari. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah. I want to answer these questions about like what is the process like and can you clone it over? And because there was like Flow Launch, for example, that Flothemes users might be used to. I hate that kind of plugin. Absolutely a nightmare. I would never, ever do that with my site. I know they were telling people to do it, but oh my God, like the kinds of problems that can come up with something like that are just the nightmare situations where you've got like a database that's got two different the things that need to be merged. And like, good luck figuring that out. I would have a hard time figuring that out. I've had those situations come up where I'm like, anyway, stay away from that kind of stuff. In my opinion, if you want to try one of those, there are some plugins that will allow you to like build on the back end something that's different than what's on the front end. I would just stay far, far away from those. The best way to do this is to clone your current site to staging or create a staging site and bring over the pieces that you want from your current site. When we say staging, generally this is handled at the host level. This is one of the main reasons that we recommend Cloudways. I don't know if Patrick's still in here from GridPane, who would hate me even saying this, but I mean, certainly the modern hosts like GridPane, for example, they're going to have robust staging options for people who want to do staging. But Cloudways just makes it so easy to just press new app and you've got an app, or clone the current app and you've got a new app, and you can have as many as you want as long as they don't take up all the resources for your plan. And you can just like make another one and build it with a temporary URL. And it's just so easy. You don't need to change your host file or anything like you have to do on SiteGround. And there's complicated processes to make a staging site on some hosts. Cloudways makes it extremely easy. That's one of the reasons we like them. Even if you're not planning on using Cloudways in the long term, I would even consider using Cloudways just to do the staging because it's so easy to do staging there. So you can go go to fuelyourphotos.com/Cloudways if you want to use our affiliate link. You can use their $12 plan for this kind of thing, for staging especially. There's a Cloudways migrator plugin if you want to just install that on your current site, and then you'll have to kind of hook it up. There's a tutorial you can use. It would basically just migrate an exact clone. Melissa, I'm about to actually show InstaWP. And the clone over to Cloudways from that plugin would be extremely easy. Melissa, do you mind if I show StyleCloud on InstaWP? I pulled that up, and that's what I had that I was going to demo. So if you don't mind me showing that, we should probably have you on. Maybe I'll just send Melissa a link real quick.
Totally.
Is that okay with you, Dylan? I don't know, Melissa. You're probably like burnt out, and it's like really late, or what? It's not that late, I guess, in the UK. Melissa, I'll send you a link in case you would like to join us here in a minute, but don't feel like you have to. I was going to show some of that. Okay, so Anyway, where was I with? Okay,
Yeah.
with staging. So
Staging.
you can set up something on Cloudways really easily. You can migrate your current site over, or just make a new app and then be moving things over. And then from there, if you want to stay on Cloudways forever, great. If you want to move to something else, fine. But yeah, that's how I would do it. I wouldn't mess with a whole bunch of other kinds of, like a plugin that like Flow Launch and that kind of stuff. Can't see I'm fully sold on it now. Sweet. Did you set up InstaWP links on Caldera, Dylan? Is that what?
I haven't done that. I think they're talking about the Melissa's. But yeah.
Oh, okay, sweet.
I like InstaWP. I'm such a fan of Cloudways that I want to stay on that platform as much as possible.
Yeah, InstaWP is not a hosting solution, by the way. It's just for testing WordPress. In fact, let's go ahead and go over to a screen share. Melissa, I see you over there. I'm gonna I'll bring you on here in just a sec. Let's look at. Show you these people what I'm talking about here. Let's go to a screen share. Okay, I think you should be able to see the screen. Okay. The thing about InstaWP is it's great for just testing, right? Like this really the whole idea. You can click try for free, and I think I'm already logged in. But anyway, here, click add new site. You can choose some things that you might want to test if you want to add some of these other things, but you can just click create site. It's starting installation. Your new WordPress site is ready. Click magic login. You've got a WordPress site. You're going to get in the WordPress dashboard. This site is live. You can play with it. I think the default free plan keeps it up for 4 hours or something like that. You can make a paid account that's like $10 a month that lets you keep it for a certain amount of sites, like longer than that. You can keep them frozen or whatever. So it's another place you could build. It's not really optimized for performance as far as like, speed of the final site. It's optimized for setting up a site really fast and testing things that you just want to break. But anyway, if you want to play around with WordPress and test some things, InstaWP could be a great way to do it. Let's go over here. In fact, okay, so I just set up one on InstaWP a few minutes ago, and I installed, I have a child theme for Cadence. We never got to Cadence and free versus paid. And actually, let's bring on Melissa, because this is a good time. She might have some feedback on this. Melissa, what's up?
Hey, hello. Thanks for having me.
Over there, huh?
Yeah, no, it's not that late. It's like 7 or something.
Yeah. So I know that you've intentionally built the things that you have in StyleCloud to work with Cadence free. Do you have any specific thoughts on why people would need Cadence Pro? Like, why wouldn't free be enough?
Oh, it's such a good question. I think for the majority of photographers, free kind of hits the mark, but there's some amazing tools that I really love, like the pop-up builder it just works. Like, I think of Cadence like Apple, like it just works. So, and everything works together. And there are ways around this. You can install another pop-up builder, and you can install another custom fonts plugin. By the way, Use Any Font works perfectly for Cadence, and that's free. But, with Cadence includes all of that, and it just makes it work. But so the big main differences for me are the template builder. So, for example, you can build your I've been building mobile menu overlays with the builder, and then using that to replace the standard menu overlay. So for people who like the fancy pop-up menus like you see in Show It, you can do that totally with Cadence. And I've been having a ball doing that.
Right.
You can build with Pro, and you can build blog templates or custom post type templates, which is a bit
like hooked elements are huge. And I think it's Cadence's answer to where WordPress is going already with full site editor. Basically, they were doing the full site editor stuff before WordPress even introduced full site editor. And that's kind of what hooked elements are. And I think that it is going to offer such a seamless transition into full site editing. By the way, let me just talk about this for just a second. If you're not aware, WordPress now, the default themes are block themes, and they've replaced the customizer with the editor. And up until maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, it was just trash. Like, I mean, using it was an absolute nightmare. I was wanting to be an advocate for it, and I still couldn't, because I'm like, this is absolutely terrible. With WordPress 6.3, it's become somewhat better. It's like, at least now I think regular people could maybe see the vision for where it's going. They've reorganized some things so that you can actually use it. And I think that was the push that was needed for developers to start building real solutions on block themes. Even some of the developer hangouts that I've gone to recently that are like right now with WordPress, where they invite like kind of like office hours for people who are developing WordPress. They were like, we know you couldn't do this yet, but now you can. So start doing it. So I think you're going to start seeing more and more developers who are pushing into full site editing and block editing for the entire theme. And I know that Ben from Cadence has been on top of that for at least a year. He knows, he's seen where things are going with block themes. He said that they're not exactly sure, at least this was the last I checked maybe a few months ago, they weren't exactly sure whether they were going to transition into a block theme totally to give a separate version of Cadence as a block theme. But there's some roadmap that will move Cadence over into the new WordPress, which is going to be all block-based, that will eliminate the customizer. It's just that right now, all the Cadence users are so used to the customizer. It's like, oh, we don't want to take that away, that everyone knows how to build with this. All of our settings are there. But there probably will, I'm guessing there's going to be a separate version of the theme part of Cadence that is just a block theme. And all of the blocks, Cadence blocks, the plugin, and like StyleCloud, for example, all of that will still work just fine with this new Cadence block theme. But just know that this is a thing. Their block themes are going to be the future. The customizer will be going away. The editor will be the new way to edit WordPress websites. You'll be able to build all your templates there, your themes. It's beautiful if it gets embraced, and I know that there's really no choice at this point, so I can't wait to see that. But just know that that's something you should look at when you're researching WordPress themes. You know, is there a block theme? If you're looking at other options that are not Cadence, you really, really need to be careful if they don't have a plan to have a block theme available, because it's just good. You're dealing with really old code at that point, I think. Anyway, okay, let's go back over here. So we're talking about Cadence Free versus Pro. I think that, you know, really advanced users who want to dig really deep and build, you know, very custom things will probably want both the Pro theme and blocks, but that maybe as much as 70 to 80% of all photography websites could be built with just free, which is beautiful, right? Like all you need is hosting, and then you can use free theme, free blocks, and you could build from scratch if you want. If you like blank canvases, that's all you need. But if you don't like blank canvases, that's why we're talking to Melissa right now. Actually, I've got a demo already pulled up. Hopefully this is the right thing. Let me screen share again. Let me see.
Just a note on your block themes. Are you saying that Cadence will have a better footer editor
yes.
in the future?
I do believe so.
That's my biggest.
I hate that. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why you would want Pro, for the hooked elements and building the footer with blocks. If you know what I'm talking about right now when I say something like that, then maybe you'll want Pro. If you don't, and you're like, I mean, just whatever, I can build any kind of footer and it'll be fine, then maybe you don't need it. Let me see if I can. I'm having a hard time with my screen share here. Okay, so this is using Cadence and the free Cadence, and then the free Cadence blocks, and then a child theme that I created called Canvas. It's available for our members. It's just a this is what it looks like out of the box, where you've kind of got a clean white. Everything is sort of already configured to be full width, and it's just like a little bit blank. Whereas if you're just using Cadence out of the box, there's going to be like some things that it's not full width, it's contained, it's got the title display. There's like all these settings that you might want to change. Melissa, do you have a theme a child theme that goes along with StyleCloud that you're giving people?
We have a little free cloud people can play with, but if they subscribe, they get 5 free themes included.
But like the actual, is it a child theme or is it just the cloud?
No, so if you buy the annual cloud subscription, you get all the themes as well.
Okay, cool. So you have some child themes that basically are specific. I certainly catch up on that. I would love to chat with you sometime and do a full review. But let's look at this really quick. I'm going to go to, so we have a blank page here. I'm going to go to edit page. And here I've already installed the StyleCloud on this. So I just hit design library right here. And you can see that I have the StyleCloud option. This is another one that I had for our course members. That's just like some really basic blocks. Cadence has some of their own, but this is the StyleCloud. These are specifically from Melissa, and they're in the cloud, so they're updated whenever Melissa makes updates to these. They'll be available. The updates will be basically instant in the library. Now, they won't update your site. So if you've already installed, like if you've used one of these on your pages, it won't make changes to your site whenever they make updates, but the new updates that they make to any sections here will be available. This is the same thing with Caldera, and any of the people who are building Cadence templates at this point are probably using some sort of cloud library. The Cadence Cloud library just works so well because all I need to do. By the way, Melissa, if y'all figured out anything with sorting the sections yet?
Oh, don't even start. I'm working quite closely with the team, with Kathy and Ben to sort this out.
Yeah, this will be better in the future. But right now, you can kind of flip through and see some. There's some sorting that is available, but it's just not great. But if I click one of these sections, it's telling me it's preparing the content, and it's going to drop it into the page. I'll give that just a minute. Again, this is Cloud Library can be a little bit slow depending on some factors. Also, this is it's a WP, so it's not really optimized for this kind of thing. But give this just a minute.
It's quicker when you just drop in the smaller sections. When it's trying to drop in a whole long home page, it does take a little while.
Yeah.
Let's all make a cup of tea.
Yeah, exactly. While we're waiting on this, Melissa, I'm curious about. Oh, actually, we'll go to this for now. So it dropped in everything that we saw in that demo here, and if let me just hit update really quick, and we'll go view that page that was a blank page, and it now looks like this. Now, as far as the fonts and things like that, we can easily change all of that in the customizer. I don't want to get into a whole long tutorial about Cadence, but I just want to show people that it's easy to quickly go in here and change your base font or your heading font. Just pick some random thing, and it will, apply it. That's beautiful. Across the sections and things like that. This is not Melissa's design, by the way. I'm just like throwing in fonts. But the idea is that, these changes that you make in the customizer will apply site-wide across the sections that you've dropped in, which is beautiful. I mean, it makes this so easy. And there's so many sections that you can just choose from. Again, Melissa was saying, we're dropping in a whole homepage there. But if I just want like a specific section, I just want to drop in this one section right here, I can do that. And now it will also adopt the fonts that I just set in the customizer. Scott says my beard looks awesome. Thanks, Scott. So anyway, this is the idea of the cloud library with Cadence. Is one of the reasons that we're pushing Cadence so much right now is that it does make it easy for designers to create a product that is easy to use. You can just go in here, pick the section you like, click it, it inserts it into the page. You can also then make site-wide changes to all of those sections. Man, what else do y'all want to say about that? Or what do you want me to showcase here?
I think times are changing a bit in that the way themes have traditionally been sold is people buy them for the design features, but then you spend ages unpicking the design features because they don't match your fonts or your colors. And a lot of settings have been done at page level or at block level. Yep. So when we did this, nothing has been done at block level. We took everything we've ever built, cleaned it, stripped it back, broke it down into sections, tested it to be pixel perfect. And now everything, whether it's the themes that you can install to get you started or the blocks that all pick up things site-wide. And that, for me, is very much along the same principles as you're just showing the site editor now for full site editing. Right. We wanted to be true to that, and we wanted to be ready for when Cadence goes to the site editor, when they move the customizer to the site editor. So exactly. I'm all for that. Yeah, we've been trying to work to those same protocols so that updating isn't going to be a hassle.
And I hope people are paying attention right now, because that is what you're looking for. If you're asking questions about, like, should I use this? And I'm always talking about like future proofing and thinking forward with WordPress. This is what the current customizer looks like, right? We have the fonts here. I can go back and I can go into colors and I can change my colors. It works fine, right? But this is the new experience of what the editor will look like inside of WordPress. And I think it's much better. And whenever I click one of these, it like shows me the entire, like a preview of what it looks like. This will work with theoretically. And I assume this will all, if it doesn't, everyone will figure out how to get it all working. But like, this is what in the future, if you're using the StyleCloud and then you come into here, and change your settings, it will show you a preview of like what it's going to look like across the site, and it will still apply across all of those sections from the StyleCloud, just like what we were showing earlier. I think that you're right, that the way the paradigm has shifted as far as what is the way that we think of WordPress themes. With block themes, the theme almost doesn't matter. It's more about the blocks, the patterns, the different kinds of style kits you can apply to them. And that is, I think that Cadence is ahead of the curve in that regard of like really having this library that you can insert sections that then that inherit the theme settings, and that should also work with this as soon as they kind of move into that direction.
Yeah, I had a little chat with Kathy, who's head of marketing for Cadence a couple of weeks ago, and I was asking about their potential move out of the customizer into the into the site editor, and she said they're definitely looking to do it. And what they envisage is that just like Cadence blocks is like giving Cadence blocks superpowers, they intend for Cadence Pro to give the site editor superpowers. So
wow, that's gonna be so cool.
I know, right? Like, so they're never going to destructively do anything over the top of core WordPress. They're just going to work to enhance it, which I was like, oh, wow, you're speaking my language. This is awesome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is, Dylan and I were talking earlier, and I was like, it's hard. I don't want to like push people all in on Cadence without them knowing that there is something new on the horizon with WordPress. But I still personally am using Cadence on most of my sites. I did switch my personal site over to a custom block theme that I made just so that I could start like really getting into the weeds on playing with them. But I still believe that Cadence is going to move in that direction, and I feel very confident with that. Real quick, maybe, I'm not sure if either of you have any suggestions. If people are just trying to do their research and they want to compare Cadence to anything else, is there anything else on the market right now that is similar that they should maybe consider or compare it to?
I haven't personally tried it, but there's two on my radar. One is Bricks, and the other one is something called Grade, Greyd. And they're all in on the full site editing direction.
Okay. I would say the only thing I would potentially check is Astra. They now have Spectra 1 and Spectra, which is basically like Cadence and Cadence blocks, and it's already in the full site editor. I think that's kind of, they're sort of like Canon and Nikon in the camera world. Like, I think Astra and Cadence are kind of back and forth on like which one has the cutting edge features, and they're both kind of leading the way. So they're going to have a little bit different options. That might be the only one I would consider. Personally, I like the team behind Cadence significantly better than the team behind Astra, and that's like one of the big reasons. Also, I think that we're starting to see more of a move like Melissa from people who are using Showit and Divi and Elementor. Those designers that already build things for creatives are starting to say, hey, Cadence works. And it's already, they have that that part of the market in mind with some of their products, with things like the cloud library and things like that. So I think for those reasons, like, I still would say Cadence is, in my opinion, hands down the option right now. And I don't say stuff like that very much. Like, this is the option you should look at, but I really, really believe in that right now. And as long as they continue with the development as they've said, with moving into full site editing, it's going to be a great solution for years to come. Melissa, is there anything else you want to say about StyleCloud or any of the themes that you have with StyleCloud? I don't remember exactly how that works.
The themes can't really be stashed in the cloud yet. So they're just inside your account. You download them like an ordinary theme and you upload them. But we've designed them to all to work very seamlessly with the cloud. So if you want a head start, you start with a starter theme. You can then just drop extra sections in or bust out new pages kind of on the fly. And all the themes and all of the sections take on your site-wide settings.
Okay.
The other thing, and I know you feel really strongly about this, is we're not looking to do custom builds or rebuilds of people's sites or full-on migrations. I know Dylan is all over that, and I would just go straight to Dylan. And also, I think the Caldera theme is superb. But we will help. We want you to make this not be terrifying and painful. We want it to be painless. So we're happy to help you work out how to set up a staging site and give you a 15-minute call showing you how to use the StyleCloud. So we want to hold your hand. So But there's plenty of other people who can rebuild and plenty of other people who can do like a proper SEO migration. And right now that's not us, because we just want to do the best service we possibly can for people coming to us. And there's going to be lots of you. And I know I've had some really kind messages today saying, are you okay? I'm like, yes, just about. We want to get this right. We don't want to blow it. We want to just be really on it. So we've hired a new team of VAs in and WordPress people. We're ready, but we don't want to kind of bite off more than we can handle.
Sweet. Well, thanks for stopping in on this call. And I'm glad that we could show this to people. And we'll probably have some sort of official demo and affiliate links and all that kind of stuff. But for now, just go check it out. Is stylecloud.co the best place to go? Is that how they get to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, and I would reiterate, like, we're not here with an offer that's going to go away, because no one should make decisions. Nothing's going to happen to your website for months.
Yeah.
If you're with Flothemes, don't panic. We're not going to force anyone to have a countdown time or anything sleazy like that. We just really care about people making the right decision in their own good time. And if it's not us, cool. But if it is us, we're here and we're not forcing anyone. Just take your time. It's all good.
Yeah. And Melissa's in the Fuel Your Photos group. If you want to ask any questions, I'm sure that she'll probably see those there if they're specific to StyleCloud. Support, they have a chat right here. There's, it's easy to get in touch with them, and I know that they take care of their people. So again, thank you, Melissa. I'm going to go back, let you go so that you can get some rest and get back to all your messages.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Awesome.
Dylan, do you want to demo anything with Caldera or talk about and we already kind of talked just for a minute about like the SEO, like why it's good for SEO.
Right.
But any other thoughts that you want to dig into there for people who are thinking about moving to this?
I think one thing I could do is just show people kind of a little bit of a sneak peek behind the curtain and like look at the back end.
Yeah.
Because I think one common question I get is just, cool, like you have this site, but how do I edit it? How do I update it? What do I do? Let me share my screen.
And by the way, I know that I mentioned earlier we have the Canvas theme for our members. If you are looking at if you want some one-on-one support in, like, you're the kind of person who wants to do it yourself, but Dylan, I see that. I'll enable it here in a second.
Yeah, no worries.
If you want to do it yourself, I know there are a lot of people out there who like, you know what? I just want to build from scratch. I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to use the editor. And that's your thing. I have the Canvas theme that's available for members. And then we have something called Kindling Cloud, which is just some basic sections for getting you started, for like understanding how the Cadence builder works, the blocks work. If you want to dig into that and you're a member, that's great. Also, right now we're doing 2 office hours calls per week in the membership. And any questions that you would have about, like, I can't figure out how to do this, I've been pulling my hair out on this. We've had so many people who are building on Cadence in the past few months. And that is one of the main things that we cover in office hours, is like how to build on Cadence. If you want that sort of support where you can like get on a video call and share your screen and show what you're having a problem with, and then have one of us be like, oh yeah, you just need to go blah, blah, blah. And like, this will help you fix it. That's part of our membership. So if you're interested in that, go to fuelyourphotos.com, check out the membership in the link there. We would love for you to be a part of that. It's really intended to be support and accountability. And we do have some resources there for people who want to do it themselves completely. If you don't want to buy anything, you don't want to buy a theme, you don't want to buy anything. If you're in that membership, those are all free as far as that goes. Okay, so
cool.
Let's go over here and let's see what Dylan's got to share with us.
Totally. All right, so this is Caldera. I guess really fast, I'll just like give you a really quick rundown. With the top navigation, we put all of the main pages that we really want to rank well and show up as site links if somebody's looking at your like main entity result in search results. Using drop downs for like the cornerstone content that we really want to rank, like the elopement guide or wedding venue guide. And I think this is a big feature that we don't really talk about enough on our theme, is that like it's kind of a SEO strategy in a theme.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're getting this is a how-to on how to do a really nice wedding venue guide. Just put venues from your home location or locations you're wanting to target in, like, put photos, update the abouts, link to their websites, give their address.
Yep. It's an SEO strategy and a theme.
Right, exactly. So it's just like, just do that. You're done. If I go back, I have the elopement guide here. Same thing. This is how I would set up an elopement guide. These are the topics I would want to cover. This is how I would have it just designed. It converts. It has a contact form, etc. We even gave this bonus wedding dress boutique guide, which is pretty new. Most markets that they have a surprising number of a surprising amount of search volume for this topic. People looking to find wedding dress boutiques or wedding dresses in their town. Pretty cool.
And by the way, you can take that and turn it into a wedding planner roundup or
officiants, florists. Yeah,
exactly. Any of those things that work really well for wedding photographers, especially.
Right.
Man, you've got the template. Just run with it.
Yeah. Here's the heading structure. You can just edit your primary key phrase. So this would typically be like Portland wedding photographer. Your tagline is typically more of a marketing term, like what's unique about your business, what do you offer, etc.
Yeah, this pairs really well with our course, by the way. We
right.
have our homepage lesson, for example. It's got all these sections that you could use. Well, Dylan just put all those sections into this, and you could still read the instructions about what to include in those kinds of sections. If you want even more, yeah, but I don't know what to say here, or how do I use my keywords here? Our course does have all of that included.
Totally. This theme was built for multi-service, like I mentioned earlier. So if you shoot families and engagements and elopements and weddings, all those, you can have this section. If you only have one specialty, just delete it. But we built full landing pages for those secondary services that look like the homepage, but are targeted just to rank for that one topic, which is how we would attack a multi-specialty business if we were trying to do SEO. Feature links, a guide. So here's our guide. We did the wedding venues. Next steps, testimonials. Here's a good example. The Cadence Pro block has a really nice testimonial block. Upgrading to Cadence Pro would allow you to make this look much nicer. In the future, we're probably going to offer a Pro version of this theme that has the Pro testimonial block. It has the Pro posts carousel. It just gives you a nicer looking result. But this is the free version, and it does just fine. And Google sees the content properly, and it ranks well. And it's simple for users. I think one thing that I've seen in the past is people really put a lot of effort into their design aesthetic of their website and end up just confusing users and making it harder for them to use. And does that convert into more bookings? I don't know. Yeah, so totally. Pricing information. We have a full pricing guide here. You can just put your information in this. Super simple. FAQs with proper schema.
Speaking of that, did you see the updates from Google about schema?
Yeah, I did. So, yeah.
We won't have to get into that now, but maybe that's a podcast episode.
For sure. Yeah, here's our SEO section that we talk about in the course, where you can then mention again your big guides, mention more information about your location, etc. And then the footer. I spent multiple days. I mean, this footer looks very basic, but just days making this footer perfect for...
Is that one with the customizer? I mean, obviously you said free, right?
It is. So obviously it'd be very easy to make a nice footer if you use Cadence Pro. Using the free version of Cadence made this a little bit trickier.
It does look good for the free version.
Yeah. All you have to do is go in and edit. This is just text, and you can just edit your business name, your address, your phone number. These are links that you can easily edit. It's just plain text. If you have an email newsletter, you can just fill in your information and connect that to your newsletter service, or you can get rid of that and add a different block.
If you just remove that column, do they just spread out and have 3 columns?
Yeah, you can just set it to 3. And then in the bottom, I made an HTML sitemap. I highly recommend that people use SEO Press for their SEO plugin. It gives you this ability to have an SEO HTML sitemap. This just gives Google one page that has a link to every piece of content on your entire site. And I've seen it help indexing. I've seen it help rankings. I really believe in it. And so that's one reason I like SEO Press. But if you want to use Yoast, you just won't have that feature. So yeah, that's a basic overview of the homepage of Caldera. What it looks like in the back end, I think, is pretty interesting. So this is like the typical block editor experience on WordPress. Over here, we named each section so you can quickly get to the right one using this list view, the document overview.
Have you seen in Cadence Pro how you can rename the sections, like truly rename them?
Right. That's amazing.
It's like these little things about Cadence Pro. It's like it's just a nice quality of life feature, but
right.
This works.
I've seen this actually help for SEO. Like actually naming your classes with a custom name that's like somewhat keyword rich can potentially be an improvement. So,
oh gosh, that's controversial right there.
Right, big statement. I've seen some SEO nerds test it, and it's they make a good case. So, anyways, like if you want to go into your intro, you can just literally start typing, and that's like how you edit this theme. You can see how we've built it, so you can click into each block. We use the heading block here, or the elsewhere we've used like the advanced text block, but we're always using variables like Melissa mentioned, where we want the text to be using the same variables that you can just edit by the customizer site-wide. That'll just give you the ability to change the colors and the fonts once, and you don't have to change them on each page or each section. So that's really important to us. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Once you get the hang of Cadence, this becomes like second nature. It's almost as good as drag and drop. But.
Yep. I mean, as far as a block-based editor, it is the best I've worked with. I mean, it's people talk about Squarespace being easy. This is easier than Squarespace. I mean, right. Fluid Engine's a different thing, but especially before Fluid Engine. And I mean, this is way less confusing than Fluid Engine, but right. I think if you're trying to build block-based sites, this is so easy. I do think there's a bit of a learning curve, but that's true of any builder that you're going to learn.
For sure.
So got a question here. Is typography customizable on the Caldera theme?
Yeah. So Melissa mentioned a free plugin that you can use to add custom fonts to any site.
It's just called Any Font, right?
Yeah, it's called Any Font. I haven't used that plugin myself.
I've used it.
Yeah. So that works great. Otherwise, I've used Cadence's custom font plugin, and that allows you to upload any custom font file. Otherwise, they have, is it both Google and Adobe, or is it just Google built in? I can't remember.
Into
Cadence themselves.
Just Google.
Just Google, yeah. So any Google font works. You can typically find a decent pair of Google fonts.
By the way, Google fonts are coming to WordPress. I think 6.4. They're going to have native Google fonts in the site editor.
I will say that Cadence has some really good settings. If you go to Appearance and then Cadence, and then it's under, gosh, am I like losing it here? Sorry, it's under Customized then General. And then Performance. You can load Google fonts locally and preload them. So you can use Google fonts without the GDPR issues in Europe or the performance issues elsewhere.
It was so funny when I was at WordCamp, Matt mentioned Google fonts in WordPress editor coming to 6.4, and he said that, and it's like whatever, and then he said that they'll be automatically hosted locally. The whole audience just erupted in applause. They're like, he's like, what? I didn't think y'all were gonna be excited about that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've seen some people that license their fonts to Google for usage are potentially going after people that locally host them because it isn't actually covered under Google's terms.
Weird.
But yeah, it's interesting. I guess I never really showed the customizer. The thing that we're talking about with Cadence is that like you can just come in here and change your color palette, like instantly change to a different color palette, put in your own custom colors from your designer. It's really, really nice.
You can upload, like if you're, some designers have palettes and they can give you, and you can just import them,
export. Yeah. It's really nice. You can change your backgrounds. You can change your fonts. You can change your buttons. I noticed like on Melissa's, she handled that really well, where they're not setting the button style at the cloud block level. they want you to make sure that you have your button set up site-wide here, which is great. It doesn't override that.
Again, that it fits well. These little things I notice about Cadence, they are thinking about where WordPress is going, and block defaults are really a big part of the full site editing experience. And so basically the way that Cadence handles block defaults right now, which I think is in a different place. It's not in the customizer. It's in the regular WordPress editor. But anyway, it's key. It's really, they're thinking forward with where things are going with block defaults and things like that. Real quick about the typography.
Totally.
Just to say, yes, you can change it there site-wide, but also on any, if you're using like the advanced text block, you can override it at any place. So
totally.
Again, what Dylan and Melissa were saying is they're using a like inherit this from the theme kind of setting, but you can change that to override it locally at the block level if you would like. So yeah, that's totally possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the regular free Cadence archive abilities, like what your blog feed can look like.
It's pretty, I mean, I like that by itself.
It's not bad. But with Pro, you can make it much nicer looking.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with the Pro.
Yeah.
What's it called? Post grid / carousel or something like that?
Yeah, totally. Yep. They lock it down. But I mean, this has everything you need, and it has
it used to be completely locked down. It used to be where like you couldn't do anything in free.
No.
They definitely brought more of the functionality over into free, where you can at least build something usable now.
And like they just added pagination. So like from an SEO standpoint, you're set.
Sweet.
Cool.
Do we have any people who are still watching who have specific questions about either the Flothemes situation, or about Cadence, or about other options, about other platforms, about anything that, we've covered a lot here today. I don't want to make it go too much longer, but if there's any other questions, I'd love to still check them out. I don't know who's still watching exactly, but I do feel like it's important. It's important that you really do your research here, that you don't just take the advice of any random person in a Facebook group. I've seen so many posts already in just 24 hours that are like, what do you use for your website? And people are recommending some of the worst possible solutions in some of these comments. You can't just go based on someone saying, oh, I use this and I like it and I rank well. It's just not that simple. If you're concerned about SEO, which I would assume that most people here are, because we're in an SEO group. It is. How do you edit the mobile version? Dylan, can you pull that back up so you can show that?
Totally.
If you care about these things, your platform matters. If you care about WordPress and the direction that WordPress is going, there's a reason. You've heard me being the voice of this today throughout these conversations. There's a reason that we're recommending Cadence. It's not because we think it's like necessarily the exact replacement of Flothemes, and you can build like, if your priority is a beautiful site that you have drag and drop flexibility to build anything you can imagine, maybe you should look at Showit. If your priority is, I can build most things that I can think of that are kind of, that work with a grid, that are block based, maybe I could do some custom things with CSS if I need to hire a developer. But if you're really wanting to do WordPress like WordPress is intended to be done, then I think really Cadence is the only answer that I think works right now. If you're talking about September of 2023, we're not ready for block themes in production for most people. They're just not quite there. We do have a few people in the group who have moved to block themes and have some nice sites, but it's not ready. And Cadence is already there and has a plan to move forward with WordPress. Cadence has always been. The thing that first attracted me to them was, did you drop that link, Dylan?
I will, yeah.
Okay. The thing that first attracted me to them was I was reading Ben Rittner's blog posts about like why they embraced the block editor, which was the Gutenberg project, whenever it was still being, everyone hated it in the communities. And they're like, no, we want the classic editor. We want the classic editor. And Ben saw that future where WordPress was going to be block based and said, guys, come on. Block editing can be so much better than the classic editor, especially if we just give it some more controls. And so Cadence Blocks was basically invented to extend the block editor, and that vision is continued through with block themes. So clearly Cadence is like on that trajectory already. So I just think it's so important. Pay attention to blocks, pay attention to the block editor and block themes, and Cadence is the theme if you're caring about any of that.
Cool. Quickly, here's the editing in the mobile version. You don't have to set any settings, but we set defaults. And when you build desktop content, it uses those defaults and like will make it pretty decent. Like with our theme, anything you create, any blocks you add to the desktop version are going to look fine, probably perfect on mobile. But you can always override that by going over here, clicking on the phone icon. Their preview isn't always perfect. I always like to use Chrome and then use the inspect tool and then set that to preview a web or a mobile device, or just pull up your site on your phone and preview there. But yeah, it's much better than Show It, where you have to like completely build new content for mobile.
Right. Your content should adapt. That's the whole point of responsiveness. It's not building a different version and having it switch is not really true responsiveness in my opinion.
We took a lot of time to make the defaults in this make everything work for both desktop and mobile when you add new blocks and content. So
yeah, that is probably, in my opinion, the most frustrating thing about WordPress right now. Is just this default editing of mobile. And even with Cadence, there's been some little buggy things about padding and margins if you don't like specifically set them on mobile. So just know that if you look at that little top right icon that has a little desktop, you can click that and it switches it to mobile. And yeah, that's the way that you'll switch to different views. The way that it looks in this preview might not be 100% what you're going to get whenever you're looking at it on an actual phone. So make sure that you're testing. You can use Chrome to simulate mobile and just kind of have that open in another tab if you're editing on your desktop. But it's pretty okay. They have made improvements to it. Like some of the bugs and stuff have been worked out, and I think that it will continue to get better and better. Again, full site editing will improve some of WordPress's general mobile editing experience. So it's not that this will never be better. But right now I would say the experience of editing your mobile version on Show It does feel a little bit better sometimes. I don't like having to rebuild it or drag things to be completely different. I want them to at least give me some pretty decent default. I guess Show It does do some default responsive option, doesn't it? Or does it? I don't know. I think it takes the element and leaves it on the canvas, but there's a lot of like overlapping and stuff.
That's all it does. It's not like resized even.
That's one thing I did like about the Flex editor and Flothemes is that I do remember specifically, I had quite a few conversations with Ross, and he was just like talking about how much time and effort they put into making sure that there was at least some responsive default. And so that's what you will get that with Cadence. And then there are ways to tweak most things specifically for mobile. It'll highlight it with a blue icon that's showing you that you're editing the mobile settings, things like that.
Yeah.
All right, we've gone for like an hour and a half. Any other questions before we sign off? We're going to be here in the group to answer questions. You can definitely keep coming back to Fuel Your Photos for our insights. We've got lots of pros that work with WordPress. Do your own research. Again, there's a lot of information being shared, even in our group, that I would say is, take it with a grain of salt. Like people are certainly, you should listen to people's opinions and experiences. There are things to be learned there, and you can take that as part of your data that you're gathering. But just make sure that you are knowing which questions you should be asking. Pay attention to. Thanks, Melissa. Make sure that you're looking at the kinds of things that we're posting and asking, how does this compare? Give us all those kinds of questions. We'll try to chime in as much as possible. Again, if you want more handholding, if you know that you're going to be building on WordPress and you want to be part of a community where you can ask direct questions one-on-one, get on a video call included, you don't have to pay for extra calls or anything like that. join our membership. I think that is a good place to be for anyone who is jumping into this world of WordPress right now. It's something that is very, very prominent on Dylan's mind with Sightsee and Caldera, something very prominent on my mind. I'm trying to do a deep dive on block themes, build my own custom block theme, learn everything that I can about all of that. Both of us use Cadence extensively. Both of us have used Flothemes, Pronto, pretty much Show It, like any of the Elementor, Divi, like we've used all of these things and know how they compare and know how to answer some of these questions. If you would like that, membership is at, just go to fuelyourphotos.com/membership, I think.
Yep.
If you just go to fuelyourphotos.com and look at the menu, it will have membership in there. And it's an annual thing. It's there's like the first year you're paying a little bit more because you're basically getting access to our course. Our SEO course that we have been selling for years is there included in that. And the office hours is kind of a somewhat new. We've been doing it since I think April. We were doing monthly and then went to weekly. And now each of us are doing one per week for right now and testing that out. And so far, I'm really liking that cadence of people being able to, have a question for Dylan. Well, go on Thursday and jump on his call. Or you have a question for me, just go on Tuesday and jump on my call. And this is, I'm sorry, I can't see who it is making that comment.
Laura Graham.
Yeah, exactly. It is going to be interesting to, you can't blame them too much. There's different people who probably want to help more, but they are limited by the decisions of a corporate entity that is really saying, guys, this is the decision. This is what we're going with. You have to do it this way. So unfortunately, that is part of acquisitions sometimes, and we can let's try not to hold it personally against the people at Flothemes. I really do believe that they have, for a very long time, served the photography market, that they have tried to build the best product possible for WordPress. They've listened to feedback from photographers to try to build that solution that people have been asking for. Even when people like me or Dylan have said, no, don't do drag and drop. They're like, but photographers are asking us for it and they still want to be on WordPress. Yeah. Why should we give them that solution? And it was great that they moved in that direction to have that hole in the market filled. Again, I said earlier, I don't believe that hole should be filled. If there's a new drag and drop builder that comes onto the market, I'm not going to recommend that people use it because of my belief in blocks. But I think that Flothemes was doing a great thing. And I think they really believed in it and wanted it to continue. Pixieset has decided that's not our business. Our business is, keep things simple. We want everything to be an all-in-one platform. Their website builder has been getting better. They did, I will say, there was a major, major, major problem for SEO where the homepage title couldn't even be set separately from your site name, which got appended to every page. And I contacted them, and they did end up making a fix that solved that problem. So I wouldn't say that Pixieset will never get better for SEO or that they don't care about their customers or anything like that. But clearly, WordPress is not a part of their business plan, and they just don't. They had to make a decision to cut it because they couldn't continue to develop it as it needed to be developed for the future of WordPress. That's okay. We've got some other options, and I'm glad that we can be a part of helping people find those options. Again, let us know if there's any other questions that you have. Post in our group anytime. Join our membership if you want more one-on-one. If you're in our membership already and you haven't already checked out office hours, just come hang out. Some people just come onto the office hours calls to just listen, maybe chime in the comments. Some people unmute and get on the camera and ask questions. Some people screen share. Like, all of that's there. We would love to have you. Yep. And with that, Dylan, anything else?
Not really. I'll be in the office hours tomorrow afternoon. I hope to see many of you there. But yeah, I think much like Corey, don't fret too much today. I think you have time to make a decision on where to go from here. Don't make an emotional decision and just delete your site or something. Yeah, you have time. We're always happy to help and offer as much guidance and help throughout that process. So
sweet. All right, guys. Well, we're going to sign off for today, and we'll see